Welcome to the Underdog NFL Best Ball Draft Stream. I'm your host, Neil Ross. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. I'm here with Scott Barrett, CEO of Fantasy Points. You can find him on Twitter at Scott Barrett DFB. Am I remembering that right, Scott?
That's right. Yeah.
At Scott Barrett DFB. Go find him on Twitter. I know that Fantasy Points, who Scott is, as I said, the CEO of, just released a new data suite, which we're going to take a look at very briefly in a second. Scott, I know that you're pressed for time, so we are going to jump into a best ball draft within the next 2 minutes or so. But I want to give you a chance, just real briefly, if you have anything that you do want to say about your data suite tool. Have you found any fun tidbits, or you just want to work on it as we're going through the draft? Maybe you can bring some up.
Yeah. I found a bunch of fun tidbits. I did a thread on some of my favorite DFS stats. One crazy thing was AJ Brown led the league in yards per route run when his quarterback was operating from a clean pocket, but he ranked dead last when his quarterback was under pressure. Devonta Smith ranked above average when Hurts was under pressure. So just from a DFS perspective, maybe stay clear of him. In weeks, Philadelphia is up against a defense with a really good pass rush. Jerry Jeudy had splits all over the place. He was the opposite of AJ Brown in that regard, but also like he is a god against cover one. So definitely target him in DFS in weeks against defenses that run a high rate of cover one. Guess what? Week one, Las Vegas Raiders, third highest rate of cover one.
Okay.
So that's a great matchup. Already have some players like that for week one, but yeah, really proud of this tool. Took 2 years in the making, a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of Zoom meetings for me. We have a team of charters. Brett Whitefield leads the team. He's a film savant, a genius. Developers did great work on this. What you see on the left, the basic passing, basic rushing, basic receiving, those are all free tools, which means you can access it without a subscription. Those are going to go live within 20 minutes of games ending. So if you just want to see, what did Joe Mixon average in the fourth quarter of the game that just ended? And it's like, 5.7 yards per carry. We'll have that. Where we differentiate ourselves, pull up advanced receiving is,
advanced receiving
is we have more data than any other site. Really accurate data comes out fairly quickly. This is the charted data I'm talking about, which isn't free, but just about anything you want to look at: route share, target share, targets per route run, yards per route run. You can scroll to the right: yards after the catch, yards after contact, missed tackles forced, end zone targets, first read targets, contested targets, catchable targets, and the list goes on, and like a lot of stats no one else has access to. But if you want to click on the filter to the left, all the way to the left, down one, you could scroll down here and like you could filter for just about anything you could ever imagine. Was it a win? Was it a loss? Was the receiver favored or an underdog? What was the weather? Was it a dome game? What was the wind speed in this game? You want to scroll all the way to the top and then click on play. And then again, what quarter was it? What down was it? Was it in the red zone? Was it not in the red zone? Was it man or zone coverage? What route was the receiver? Was it the go route? Was it and so anyway, you could just do this all day. Like no other site has the data. And then we have exponentially more of it when you can filter for just about anything. And then there's the split tool to the right. You could split for and back by play in the filters.
Gotcha. Yep.
And then, so you could split by week. So you could just only look at, right now it shows Justin Jefferson led the league in yards. But if you clicked week and apply, then you would see who led all receivers in yards in any given week. You could split for, was the quarterback under pressure or not, or what coverage cell was. Anyway, all this exportable to CSV. It's only $50 this year, running a promotion 75% off. And we're adding tools to this every single week. You could filter by week, you could filter by position. We have 10 different scoring settings. The only drawback is we only have a 2-season sample size right now, 2021 and 2022. But again, this is like the best data tool on the market. And it's, something that's really helped me with my research over the past 2 years. I think it can make you a better DFS player. If you're a pro bettor, even better. And if you're not, if you're just, a stats junkie, definitely recommend you playing around with it. And Neil, thanks for giving me the time to show this off.
Thank you for coming on and showing it off a little bit. Looks like a really cool tool. I've dug in just a little bit, but I haven't had the same kind of time that you have. And Chris, we had Chris Wecht was on the show yesterday, so he actually showed us a little bit as well. Told us some of what he had looked at.
Wow, it's fantasy points week, huh?
It is fantasy. I've also got I've got Jake Tribby coming on next week as well. So we're getting all the fantasy points guys on.
That was the fantasy football analyst of the year last year, Jake Tribby.
Yeah, he won writer of the year, right? Or
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to have Jake on. He'll be on next week because I'm going to be out part of this week. All right. Let's jump into a draft, Scott. I know that you are a little bit. You've got another engagement later on in the evening, so we'll get this started. We can continue talking, obviously, once it gets started. And I should remind you guys, if you have not yet signed up for Underdog, you can use the promo code in the description of this video. When you sign up, you're going to get your first deposit matched up to $100, and on top of that, you get access to the Stochastic best ball package, which is a $40 value, includes the projections. The Matt Gajewski's rankings for best ball as well. When you sign up using our code, so check that out if you haven't already. All right, Scott, we got the number 2 pick. I will take that all day. It's a pick that I have not got a ton. It tends to be I get the 1 pick more than maybe recently. I feel like it's changed a little bit. I've gotten a little bit more Jamar Chase. For a while, it's sitting at like 3% Jamar Chase as my consensus number 2 pick. But I think I'm finally actually bringing it up a little bit. But happy to get that number 2 pick.
Yeah, so I think we have 3 options here. We could either take the player I think should be the 101 in this format. I mean, there's a valid counter argument we'll get to in a minute, but Travis Kelce, bit of a hot take. We talked about this on my show.
Yeah.
You could take Austin Eckler, who I think is the RB1, or you could take any of those 4 wide receivers. Honestly, I kind of like them all the same, as crazy as that sounds. Yeah. But since you've done a lot of drafts and you don't have a lot of Jamar Chase, we can just play it safe and default to ADP. Why wouldn't you? I think so. We could definitely do that. The counter argument for Kelce is that I just think Darren Waller is an insane value. And so like, why would I take Kelce, the opportunity cost being so high when Darren Waller's there?
Do you want to go Kelce? Would that be your preference? I mean, we could certainly go Kelce.
No, again, I think it's those 3 options, and I'm fine with any of those. But again, like there's no difference to me between Cooper Kupp and Jamar Chase, or Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase. Honestly, I think I like those guys more. There's just, I guess that's offset by, injury risk to the quarterback, and also Cooper Kupp coming off of injury. But that would be about it. And I mean, I really do love all 4 guys. And in this format, I do like, getting a really powerful wide receiver 1.
Do you have any
and then
concerns?
The argument for Kelce, by the way, is just the positional value inherent to a premium tight end 1, especially in this tournament format where, like, ideally you're just crushing. You have the top power law tight end in the playoff weeks. You don't need to spend any draft capital on a 3rd tight end, maybe even a 2nd tight end. By value over replacement player, Travis Kelce has finished as a top 3 wide receiver in 6 straight seasons. And I think the safety inherent to Kelce, the odds of him finishing as the tight end 1 are probably better than the odds are for Jefferson or Chase to finish top 3 at their position. And so just add it all up. I like that. But again, the counter with Waller is enough for me. And there's a few other later round tight ends we can talk about if we miss out on a Darren Waller. But those are my thoughts.
Do you have any concerns about Travis Kelce's age cliff? Like, could he just fall off this year?
I mean, I guess so, but it's just like he came dangerously close to scoring the most fantasy points of any tight end ever. He looked amazing. So like,
and that was just a year ago. So it's not like we're 3 years later. Yeah. I think that
hard for me to imagine he goes from as dominant as he was to like even not finishing top 2 at the position.
I came into the season thinking like maybe I'll just fade Kelce this year, was actually my thought coming into the year, coming into drafting season. I thought the age cliff has to come eventually, maybe better to get ahead of it. He's going to go so high in drafts, and I now draft him all the time anyway. I think maybe you partially talked me into it, but I think that you're right. Like he could lose, like he could take a step backward and still be the tight end 1. So like he still could be worth that 1st round pick, even if he doesn't have the same year that he had last year. And it was pretty clear last year, like Mahomes still loves him. So as long as he's still got Mahomes throwing him the ball and Mahomes really focusing on him as much as he has, it's really hard to see him taking a huge step backwards this year.
Yeah, my absolute favorite start is Kelsey, Mahomes, and then I might not even draft a second quarterback or a second tight end. Really gives you that upside. Hopefully, it's strong enough to bring me to the playoffs. And then once we're in the playoff rounds, I have a 2 to 3 roster spot advantage and the 2 players most likely to lead their position in those weeks.
All right, we had okay, so no comments yet on the fantasy football channel. We had people chattering. I'm getting used to the idea of streaming on 2 YouTube channels at once, Scott. So I have to go and check things. But we do have we had Adam trolling me for the late start because I am Adam and I do. For a while we were doing six shows a week in the morning together and always started late, and most of the time it's my fault. I tend to run a little bit late. So Adam trolling me a little bit about starting late, but we were relatively on time. And then Dan Brown, excited to have you on, excited about the data suite, and wants to know, is that a fathead sticker on your wall?
Yeah, so I mean, Dan is part of our meme team over at Fantasy Points,
Okay.
And I had this picture on Instagram of me for Rodeo Week here in Houston, where I'm wearing a cowboy hat and cowboy jeans, and he's turned it into a meme and he's put it everywhere. And John Hansen convinced me to get a fat head for it. And so I bought a fat head, expecting it was to be like gigantic. And it turned out to be just this. And so I just slapped it on, and I don't know, inside joke, but I think it's hilarious.
That is hilarious. Scott, did you see, so we used your Twitter photo as our thumbnail for you today. Is that actually you in your Twitter profile picture?
Yeah, that was me from 9 years ago, maybe.
I'm like, because you look so different with the beard and the yellow glasses, which is the only way I've ever seen you, is the look that you have going right now. Like this is what you look like to me, and I'm like, I don't know if that's like from a movie, like it's some other picture of somebody else, but it is you.
Well, okay. I'm not a fan of this look. It's just post sunset, and I'm gonna be in front of my computer screen for another 4 hours. So through the blue light blocker glasses on, yeah, I have out in about 45 minutes. I just started a UFC podcast. I love UFC, but I don't know anything about it. So have that right after this. Looking at the next available picks, I just seem to have, it feels like 100% exposure to Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry in the second round, because I do always have a early first round pick for some reason. So I like both of those guys. Also cool with Ramondre.
All right. So
what about you?
So I actually got the number 2 spot in a draft I did with Jacob Sanderson, and he advocated for not taking T Higgins if he falls to us, and let JWF force him to make the decision of whether he's going to take Higgins. And then if he does take Higgins, well, we can take Burrow ahead of him with our next pick, because we'll obviously get to pick before JWF. And he was also making the argument that in general, for T Higgins to be worth his value where he's drafted, we kind of need an injury to Jamar Chase. So he was saying that he kind of thinks that for the Bengals in particular, it might make more sense to just single stack them. What do you think of that? So do you have any interest in Higgins or Mahomes here? Maybe set up that.
No, I think Hurts is sort of in play. Okay. Can you just click on running back and then click on wide receiver? Yeah, so I'm cool with Ramondre, and then wide receiver. I mean, I like Keenan Allen, but I know that's not an ADP value.
It's not an ADP value. I do like. I'm a fan of the Chargers this year, so I'm not totally opposed to it.
Oh, go back to quarterback. Yeah. Oh, damn! Jalen Hurts just went off the board.
All right, so we could. You don't want Mahomes. It sounds like you're not.
No, we could do Mahomes. We could do Josh Allen. I'm okay with that.
I mean, yeah, I'm just thinking we would be setting up the Week 17 game stack if we wanted to go Mahomes, which I think you and I are both not all that interested in game stacks. What do you think of Mahomes here?
Yeah, I think that's a fine pick. He's my QB2 for sure. I don't know if you watched quarterbacks, but like this guy is just like
I have not
one of the greatest ever. He has like the ultimate mindset. It was this awesome thing where like they were like, be in the locker room, and like a teammate was asking him like, who do you want to win this game, Cincinnati or Buffalo? And he's like, I think we match up better against Buffalo. I think we have like a better chance of winning, but I want Cincinnati. Like I want to beat Burrow because he's never beat, and he just has that, that where he's never scared. He's just always excited, and he's like never rattled, just always practicing, always working on his body mechanics.
That is cool.
And then with Josh Allen, they just keep talking about it, that he's going to run less this year. I think he could have broken leagues last year. I think that injury sort of in like the middle bulk of the season, early middle, impacted him more than anyone else is really giving him credit for. I don't know if you remember, but like the first 6 weeks, it felt like, Buffalo fans were just shipping, the Millie Maker, just dominating DFS. But yeah, what's our team right now? It's Mahomes, Ramondre, and Jamar Chase.
Yep. So we pretty solid start here. I know. So I believe you and I talked about this on Twitter. Okay, Burrow just went. Okay, well, I'm glad that we didn't take T. Higgins because Burrow just went to somebody who doesn't have anybody from the Bengals. I believe you and I talked about it a little bit on Twitter. But remind me, what are your thoughts on Week 17 game stacking?
Oh, we talked about it. So I thought it was a little bit overrated. Like it just seemed like that's what every analyst was, week 17. I have the season memorized. Like Chris Wecht actually has week 17 perfectly memorized, and maybe like half of week 16. And I am in drafts, and I'm seeing like Evan Ingram go 2 rounds earlier, Trevor Lawrence go 2 rounds earlier, and then Christian Kirk going a round early, and then also getting Calvin. And it just like, and then whoever their opponent, and it just like felt like it sort of jumped the shark. But after talking with Chris, he actually like swayed me back over because he looked in the data, and like the data is clearly showing that like people are not really stacking. So like in our bubble, it seems extreme, but they're just not doing a lot. And then like, imagine last year, if that Cincinnati Buffalo game played and one of those teams won it all, like how much more would be week 17 game stacking? But I did say, like, I don't think either of the last 2 winners like had any stacks that really moved the needle. It was far more about having the right power law players just capable of like dominating to such a degree that it's like nearly impossible to win without. So in Liam's case, he had Josh Allen, who historically great quarterback season. Even more so, he had Amon-Ra St. Brown, who just like was averaging like 26 fantasy points per game over his last 6. And then Rashad Penny, who same thing, just like smashed during postseason weeks. And then last year too, with Pat Kerrane, he had Austin Eckler and he had Tom Brady. Like it's really important week 17 to have the highest scoring quarterback because they scored the most points. And he was the only team to have that. He didn't even have Mike Evans, who's had like 60 points. He had Chris Godwin, who like did fine. DJ Moore was part of that stack. But outside that, there was like no real stack unless you were like stacking Tyquan Thornton and Raheem Mostert intentionally, which I don't think anyone was doing, certainly not in DFS.
Right. Yeah, no. So I think that I have been kind of with you the whole way on week 17 game stacking, where to me it's a little bit of a correlation. Like, and when I got the impression that everybody's doing it, I'm like, well, it's not important enough for me to really force it there. Like people, even the best DFS players don't always game stack. Like they pretty much always stack with their quarterback, but they don't always use a run back. So it's like, so we're going to try and force this for week 17. Like there's just so many factors to me that are more important. But I have gotten more and more like after that conversation with Chris in particular, where it's like, well, people aren't doing it. I'm like, yeah, same as you. I kind of was convinced like, well, if other people are not doing it, like if it really is like very, very few people are actually trying to game stack, then I'm like, yeah, maybe I should be breaking more ties that way. I'm still not willing to reach
rounds.
Rounds. Which that's an article or a video that I've been thinking about making is like, how do the tier breaks differ for reaching to get a player in your team stack versus a game stack? And I think there is a difference, but it's hard for me to really pinpoint what the difference is for me. Like where, because I am willing to sometimes reach. I always try to stack with my quarterback. So I'm willing to sometimes reach to stack with my quarterback. And I think that I'm more willing to reach. Okay, it is.
Fuck! I wanted Christian Watson and Joe Mixon so badly. Joe Mixon is like easily one of the most mispriced players. Is ADP correct right now? Because Terry McLaurin is apparently 44.6, but he's showing below Christian Kirk, who's 50.3.
So this is our ranking right here.
Okay.
What do you think of who do you like here?
Deontay, I guess. I don't know. You kind of threw me off by not having ADP. That's all
Oh,
I
sorry.
like know it by.
Oh, you sort it by, so you can't, once you have imported rankings, you can't sort by ADP. So let's
Oh, okay, okay.
all right. So this is
So
there's
you'll
no
have to
way.
do me a favor and scroll down.
Okay.
So this
Do
is
you want to look at individual positions first? Would that be easier to?
yeah.
All right. So let's start with running backs. So here's our running back landscape.
Okay.
Wide receivers.
Ooh, you're low on Brandon Ayuk.
Yep.
Um,
And then tight ends, if you had any interest in Hawkinson, Kittle.
no, we can just stick to running back and wide receiver.
Okay. I'd be fine going to Ayuk.
No, it's okay. I guess Madison or McLaurin. I mean, Kirk's fine if you really like Kirk.
I've drafted a lot of Kirk because I wouldn't mind going McLaurin because I have not drafted a ton of McLaurin. So when he's fallen, definitely willing to go there. All right. I also, as I recall from the stream that you and I did on Fantasy Points together, you are not at all a bye week bro. Is that correct?
Oh, not at all. I don't give it a second's thought. We're trying to take down the tournament, right? Like,
sure, true.
Yeah.
So this is so I
why do I care about week 7 when I have
I am very much a bye week bro, and the reason is I'm trying to get as many teams into the play. Like I tend to be an advancement. I mean, it kind of goes hand in. I'm a bye week bro and an advancement rate bro. I kind of think the more teams you can get there, the more likely you are to win in general. But I also, obviously, how can you ever prove that without actually winning the tournament? So I don't know. It's a
so I'm with you. Like, it's definitely important. Like, some of the week 17 stackers like really underrate the importance of getting to the playoffs.
Right.
Which again, it like isn't the it's easier to get into the playoffs than it is to advance through the postseason. So that is my priority. But there's been enough studies done on this. Mike Beers is one of them, that it's just really overrated. Like, even if you were playing in a non-tournament best ball league, it doesn't really move the needle, not to the point that you should ever be, prioritizing one player over another due to bye weeks. And I am someone who typically has like strong player takes. I think I'm off my game here because of the rankings, but it really just, it doesn't really matter too much to me. Maybe if it's like, I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I really don't care about bye weeks.
Well, I mean, what if you have, so if you have Lamar Jackson and you get Darren Waller, are you willing then to take Daniel Jones and not take another quarterback? Like, just have your quarterbacks have the same bye week in week 13. Are you okay with that?
Well, I'm generally trying not to have more than 2 quarterbacks, like, especially with the Mahomes team. Like, we theoretically don't even need a second one. Like, when I did my, best ball Bible last year, I didn't have time for it this year, but I wrote like, I don't know, 60,000 words. One thing that really stood out to me was just like underrated upside to 1 QB teams, that not a lot of, like, no one's doing that, but the hit rate on those were really good. The advance rate was really good. And the playoff rate was
QB
like
teams.
even better than people give it credit for.
That is very interesting.
Because it's just an advantage, like that extra roster spot. And like, Mahomes theoretically should, he could finish as the QB1 every single week in the fantasy playoffs, and like no one would really bat an eye, or at least top 3 or top 5.
Sure. Yeah, certainly a possibility. All right. So it is coming up to our turn again. So I'm going to let you look at, first of all, running backs. Here's our top running backs: Rashad White, Isaiah Pacheco.
Give me a second. Yeah, I like Rashad White. All right, click on wide receiver. Pittman. Yeah, I like Pittman. All right, Pour one out for Kadarius Toney. Damn, I have so much exposure to him.
Yeah, that's
he got hurt. Who could have seen that coming, right?
Right. I'm assuming that you're not interested in taking Kadarius Toney, even though we have Mahomes here. Like,
I'm gonna hope he falls. I'll hope he falls.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was talking to my injury expert about it, and it's like really not good. Like, they don't know if it's a meniscus or not, and if it's a meniscus, it could be, to week 7 or week 4. And like, even then they don't know if he's healthy, and there's like a high re-injury risk. And there's probably some other stuff going on where it makes sense. He's had all these injuries and we shouldn't really expect too much to change. The flip side of that to me though, is just like, it's clear to me, he's the most talented. He has the most upside on the team. And the way they're talking about him too, it's like, yeah, this is a big loss. We don't know who's going to fill that role. It could be like a committee to start, or maybe someone will surprise us. And so to me, it really seems clear, like what Brett Veach said a few months ago, is like they were envisioning him as the wide receiver 1.
Yeah. All right. So now it's coming back to us. Okay. So Kyle Pitts one. I was going to suggest we could think about him. I know you said you like Waller. We could go Waller.
Yeah, I'd probably take Waller.
All right.
Oh, I like James Conner too. We're okay with running backs though.
Yeah, we have a couple already. All right. We'll go Waller. We got the 1-2-3-1 start. We don't have Mahomes stacked with anybody yet. So I'll be interested to have the conversation about, do we reach for, I mean, if we want Sky Moore, we're going to have to take him at our next turn.
I mean, one of the benefits of stacking Mahomes is that the team's wide receiver 1 is going in the final rounds of your draft.
Love it. Okay. I mean, we have to talk about Justin Ross.
We have to, yeah.
So you want to start that conversation now? So do we just wait and take a Ross and James double tap in the final 2 rounds?
So I don't mind that. I will say at this point, you probably should grab at least one of Sky Moore, MVS, maybe Tony if he falls. Like, it was such an outlier year last year that no wide receiver on the Chiefs like actually smashed. This is like the most potent offense in football. Even if you have Travis Kelce and assume he's the wide receiver 1, it's so rare there's not a second one who finishes, top 15, and then a third, honestly, who finishes, top 24. And so that was a total outlier. Just with Justin Ross, like, I branded upside wins championships. Like, the right way to draft, especially in a tournament format like this, is to really swing for the fences, especially in a format like this. And Justin Ross, to me, was the ultimate, swing for the fences pick in like Dynasty, because he was being billed as the next Larry Fitzgerald. He was, a guaranteed top 5 draft pick. And then he had this spinal issue where he consulted multiple doctors who said he would never play football again. Wow. He came back, he played football, but he basically played on like a broken foot the entire season. He wasn't good, but he like really wasn't that bad. And then he had his pro day, and he was advised never, per sources, to not participate. He did it anyway, and like the numbers were terrible. A bunch of NFL doctors checked him out. A bunch said we can't sign off on this. A few did sign off on it, including the Chiefs. And so it's just like, he went to the nuts landing spot. There's a chance that, his final year of college was really just this broken foot. And then the spinal issue was something he played with the 2 seasons where he was a juggernaut. He has the best age-adjusted yards per route run season in PFF college history. Wow. And he did that while competing for targets against T. Higgins, Hunter Renfrow, Amari Rodgers, who were all older than him. And so it's just based on that statistical profile. Like, there's a chance this guy's incredible. Training camp hype's been great, but that's also the Chiefs. They kind of just hype the shit out of everyone. But it's just there's no better like YOLO pick. And like, my track record on late round flyers has been awesome. Like, Antonio Brown wasn't even on a team and like might have been suspended, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
He comes back to the Buccaneers in tournament weeks. He had like 3 straight 100-yard games. DJ Chark's sophomore season, the guy went nuclear. Amon-Ra St. Brown's rookie season. I was saying, like, don't leave a draft without him and Elijah Moore. Both of them had great years. And so wow. I just think there's it's kind of, there's like nothing to lose, like you could win the tournament with like your last 3 round picks all taking zeros, like, or only cracking your starting lineup once and it's not even in the playoff week. So yeah, why not swing for the fences with a final round pick? Worst case scenario, like the guy is playing with Mahomes, right? So like, clearly there's upside there.
Okay, let me ask you a hypothetical, or not even a hypothetical. Let me set an over under for you. How many catches do you think? So I'm going to set the over under at 19.5. Do you think that Justin Ross is going to catch more or less than 19.5 passes from Patrick Mahomes this year?
Um, I mean, I want to. I'm a madman, Neil. Like, I want
I
to bet
know
the
you are.
over, but like, I'm saying it doesn't matter. That's the wrong way to
Okay,
think about fantasy football is by using a median projection. I'm
sure, that
saying
is true.
like
You think
it
the
could be
upside is what, like 80 catches, something, or some
right.
crazy
I'm
numbers?
like, if he is who he was 3 years ago,
Hmm.
it's like 80 catches and like breaks fantasy leagues, right? At his ADP. So like, it could be the case that, you know, 90% chance he goes under, but based on the other 10%, it's still worthwhile to target him at ADP.
No, for sure. I absolutely agree
Mhm.
with you there. I'm just trying to get a hold on how much of a madman you are. Like whether you're like thinking about it the right way, which is like it's unlikely to hit, but if it hits, it could really hit. It sounds like you are on, I would say, the right side of the thought process. You're not assuming that he's going to get, 80 receptions this year. You're assuming that he's probably not, but like you're
Oh
saying the
yeah.
upside is there.
Yeah, that's exactly the right way to think about it though, is just like who gives a shit? It's just like what is his upside? And if it's like better than 0%, great. Because like what's the upside of like scroll down the list and like who is he being drafted next to? And it's like
Right.
wide
Hang on.
receiver, Tennessee's wide receiver 5. Like who cares? Or like there's like 7 different Giants wide receivers going ahead of him, right?
Right.
So
I will scroll down the list after we make our next pick though. Next two picks.
so a great upside wins championship pick that I haven't made at all uh, is Michael Thomas, right? It's like the same exact thesis with Justin Ross is like, what if this is finally the year he stays healthy? The last time we saw him healthy, he set the NFL record in receptions. The next year he came back. He only played 4 games, all with Taysom Hill,
Yes.
and he
So
averaged
you're
something like
all right. So
120 yards per 4 quarters.
is
Yeah.
Michael Thomas who you want? Is that what you're telling me? You want to take Michael Thomas here?
You could pick between those two guys. I think those are great. Either one it works for me.
All right. Well, hopefully we get both of them.
Okay.
I'll go Thomas first because I think Sky Moore is more likely to come back to us. I could be totally wrong on what JD. Either way, he has 0 running backs and 5 receivers already. So I'm okay
Nice.
with taking that risk. Definitely a 0 RB bro.
I mean, it's like the best year I've ever seen for 0 RB, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. There are some even really late. There are some running backs who have a little bit of upside, I think. All right. You
Oh,
want to you want to go
beautiful.
with Sky here?
Yeah, let's do it. So I'm
Okay.
like a big time Sky hater. Like
Are you?
last year, I
Yeah.
was calling him Sky Meh or Sky Mid. Like I just didn't think he was a good prospect, but people were losing their minds over him.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of on it. Like same with Gabriel Davis. Like I was super anti Gabe Davis. Went to war with like a bunch of people at my company over Gabe Davis, but now I love Gabe Davis.
Well, he dropped what 4 rounds or so. Like now you get him maybe 3 rounds from where he was last year.
More than that, yeah. Incredible value. Um, yeah, and for Sky Moore too, like Kansas City Beats are saying he's going to be their starting slot wide receiver.
Right.
I kind of think that's like suspect, just because like again, I don't really think he's that good, but like I had to reevaluate based on that and like bake
Yeah.
that in because uh, Kansas City led the league in passing yards to slot receivers last year, courtesy of Fantasy Points data. Juju Smith-Schuster was like mostly in the slot, or high percentage of his yards came in the slot. Same for Mecole Hardman. And so there's a lot of vacated opportunities there. I was kind of banking on that being Tony in sort of like a Tyreek Hill role, but
Yep.
I mean, regardless, like that's a very valuable role to have.
Yeah, absolutely. It is like it's more a bet on the role than it is a bet on the talent, I think, with Sky Moore. And you never know. It was what, a second round pick, something like that. So maybe the talent is there. So getting back to you say that you're a big player takes guy. So you draft a lot based on player takes, and I am very much not that. So I think that might be one of the bigger differences between us. Part of the reason that I pay attention to bye weeks and stuff is because I'm very much a structure and like
Mhm.
largely paying attention to ADP and then like building nicely structured lineups because I watch a lot of football, but I still don't really have that many have some takes, but I don't have that many takes that are like that far different from the field. So I think that could be, if I had stronger player takes, I would probably be more inclined to just ignore bye weeks and just take the guys that I want. But I think that you and I are different in that sense, in that I'm not really drafting based on player takes generally.
So I think player takes are massively important in tournaments where you really need to nail the power law players, the right power law players in any given season. To me, that is paramount. That is the most important thing. But I will say best ball in general, like if you want to throw out tournaments, but also like tournaments too, it matters is like, you really need to know roster construction, correlation, stacking. Like that is such a potent edge. If you want to throw out tournaments, like you could just draft off of ADP and you're guaranteed to profit every year. Like best ball is one of the most broken formats in fantasy. It's just like so easy to print money. Yahoo best ball leagues, like, oh my God, like you would just make an absolute killing. The problem is like the tournament leagues are way more sexy, but the greatest best ball drafter of all time is this guy, Aaron H., a buddy of mine, but like he was a legend back in the MFL 10 days. He would put like the leaderboard for most drafts would be like him at 10,000 and the next person at 500. And he had like a 50% win rate, or maybe profit rate, something like that, every single year. And like no one ever came close to that. He was just like an absolute monster.
Wow.
And he was all about, not deviating from consensus in the first 3 rounds, really optimizing roster construction. And then in the last 4 rounds, he would have like 100% exposure to guys like OBJ's rookie season. He literally had 100% exposure across like 600 drafts, something insane like that. And that was his big edge. But it's interesting too. It's also like, I'm a very player takes guy in DFS, and that probably works to my disadvantage. Whereas like you're probably a way better DFS player than I am. And like you just said, you don't know too much about the NFL, but that's where game theory is so much more important. Yeah. And that's also where your show has been so valuable to me. Chris and I last year, we were geeking out about all of your interviews with the DFS experts trying to hone our game theory.
That's awesome. Awesome to hear. Yeah, you talked about it a little bit when I was on your show that you watch High Stakes, which I appreciate. And obviously I feel the same way. I geek out over my guests and getting to talk to some of the best players out there. And when I say I'm not really a player takes, I do watch a good amount of the NFL. So I'm not like completely, out of the weeds either, but I'm clearly not in the weeds to the same extent that you are with the player takes. I've seen some of the deep dives that you do on players, which is obviously very valuable. All right, so we are back up. We only have 2 running backs. We have 1, 2, 5, 1.
Can you click on running back?
Yep. All right. So we could take McKinnon and pair him with
things got
Mahomes.
gross quickly. Is Penny off the board? Let's take McKinnon for the stack.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We could just do easy little stack there.
Did Penny go? I guess
Penny
so,
must have gone. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, things got gross here. You want to click
on
wide
back on.
Hate Rondale.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Hate.
Do you like Nico Collins?
No. We could take Daniel Jones if he's still there. I don't really think we need a QB2. Him or Aaron Rodgers, but after that, we could just be done at the position. Doesn't have a week 10 bye.
Yep, that's exactly. I know that is the most important thing for you as well. All right.
I mean, I love Daniel. I've been like struggling with like how bullish do I want it? Like, there's a chance he's like seriously Josh Allen-esque this year. Second year with the Brian Dable system. He was throwing to nobody, like bodies who like were playing with broken limbs. And now he has like a legit wide receiver 1, I think, in Darren Waller, best receiver he's ever played with. We got that stack. That's nice. I'm
100% with you. I drafted a ton of Daniel Jones last year, and it worked out well. But I think he's got upside for. I remember getting trolled a little bit. I think I posted on Twitter. He was my most exposed quarterback last year. I think it was Daniel.
He was
Jones
mine too.
And Trey Lance. Unfortunately, those are my 2 highest exposed. I think I had like 30% of each of them, and one of them worked out great, and one of them did not.
Yeah, my top 2 were Fields and Lance. So
nice.
in redraft, in best ball, it was Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I was a big Wandale guy too, so I had a ton of him.
Did you end up with a lot of Fields in best ball?
I just
Or
didn't
just
draft a lot of best ball last year.
Okay, gotcha.
So Giants versus Rams, week 17.
Oh,
Chiefs
look at
versus
you,
Bengals, week
old
17.
Chris Wecht out here. All right.
So maybe Irv Smith. I don't know. I don't like Van Jefferson. No, screw Tyler. No, you can keep him on there.
I mean, if he falls to us, we can think about him. We could also go, as you said, Irv Smith for that correlation. We already have Jamar Chase, so we already have.
Oh, that's right. That's
a
right.
run
That's
back.
great. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose we could also look at, do we want any MVS or Rashee Rice?
I like MVS.
All right, so we have some options coming.
If
up
we get
on
sniped on Justin Ross, I'm gonna cry though. Just so you know.
We're gonna take Justin Ross round 14, just to be sure.
Chris would just immediately start vomiting.
It's
so funny. I bring it up every show and I'm like, we got to take Justin Ross. And I get like, we have like 15% Justin Ross.
Really?
And if he just like becomes, this like world beater, like I will never let Chris live that down.
I mean, you shouldn't. You absolutely should not. We did not take him in the draft that I was in with you guys. However, it was the first time I had heard Justin Ross's name. Like I was not even like, he was not on my radar until I did that show with you guys, and they were trolling you a little bit. So I've trolled you a little bit about Justin Ross on Twitter since then, but it's trolling, obviously, with good natured trolling, because you convinced me to start taking some Justin Ross in my final round of best ball too.
The more heat I get for a take, the more confident I am in it. That's like all my best takes. Like I said, Lamar Jackson was going to win MVP his sophomore season. I bet it. My buddy Ed Teach won over $1 million betting it.
No way.
I bet it, and I got hammered for it. I got called an idiot nonstop. Bunch of old takes exposed. I said Christian McCaffrey was going to be a Hall of Famer during his rookie season when he struggled. Got destroyed for it. And then last year I was like, Amon-Ra St. Brown is like Justin Fields. I got destroyed for Justin Fields last year. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I was like, he is the number one value at the wide receiver position. And then everyone agreed with me. And I'm like, this can't be right. Am I missing something? Like,
this is clearly not gonna. Yeah. And where was he drafted last year?
He was wide receiver 26 on ESPN. How stupid is that?
Okay.
He was hired maybe an underdog or something, but that was just dumb.
Yeah. All right. So Irv Smith just went off. So we a couple of our queued up players went fairly early relative to their ADP here.
They're trying to sabotage our stacks. Clearly.
That's I mean, it could be that they're watching our stream and saying, well, I need Irv Smith for my, this is the guy who took unstacked Joe Burrow. So he might have realized, okay, maybe I need to,
well, that's what you're going to need for those playoff weeks is Irv Smith going to go nuclear, much to our dismay as a Jamar Chase owner.
Yeah, exactly.
So you want to click on running back, then click on wide receiver. I mean, I like Jerome Ford a lot. I like Kendre a lot, but I mean, like once you're in this like handcuff range, I don't think there's too much that separates them. Jerome Ford, I just think he'll get like 3 spike weeks, whereas Tyler Algier will get 1, is like what it feels like to me. Wide receiver real quick. Didn't realize we're on the clock. I like Mingo, but we can just go for the stack. We can take whichever one you want.
Let's go Jefferson here.
Okay. Or
I guess we could have gone MVS. It's for the actual team stack.
That's the one thing with Mahomes too, is like there are so many weeks where like I play him in DFS and he finishes as the QB1 and I'm like, oh, great call. But then like, where did the touchdowns go? It was like
spread out.
2 to Jerick McKinnon, 3
right, so
to
we are back on the clock.
12 yards.
Do you have a thought on Higbee versus MVS or somebody else?
MVS, yeah.
All right, I like that. All right, we'll go MVS here because I think the running backs, like none of them are urgent to take now. Like if we want Jerome Ford, there's a good chance he falls to us. If we really felt strongly about Kendre Miller, I guess we would have probably needed to take him there. But I think that we can wait another round and see if.
Well, here's something interesting about this team is what if Kelsey tears his ACL week 1?
I know. And then all of a sudden, all of these receivers, like it's not like Mahomes is not going to throw for 1 million yards. So like somebody's going to go off.
And so I think this is the right way to think about stacking is like who would have won the underdog tournament in Mahomes' sophomore year? It probably would have been some random Chiefs fan who just had Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek, Kareem Hunt, and just fucking printed money. But then I also think about week 17 stacks. Like I always dream about going back in time to, what was it, 2014? There was this Saints Giants game. I was watching the game. It was whatever year the Mets and the Royals were in the World Series. And I think like Eli Manning scored 6 touchdowns. Drew Brees threw for like 600 yards. And they had the QB1, QB2 on the week, the tight end 1, tight end 3 on the week, the RB3, RB6, RB9, and RB15 on the week, and the wide receiver 1, 2, 7, and 12 on the week. And it's like, imagine if that happened in week 17 this year. Right. It's like whoever has the most of those two teams just wins it all. And there's a chance that there's definitely a chance that happens. And like highest probability has to be Chiefs Bengals, right?
Absolutely. So you were saying that was happening within the same game?
Yeah. I would love to.
So it would have been a game stack there, that one. Yeah, it's interesting. Certainly, I mean, similar to last year. Like last year, it felt like Bills Bengals was by far the most likely game to go completely off. So a lot of people were stacking that game. Absolutely, this year, it feels like the Chiefs Bengals is certainly the likeliest game to go off. Obviously, Vikings Packers in a dome has some potential there. There are only probably 4 games or so that I actually know, so I don't remember. I only remember the ones that I care about, which are, those are some. I know Miami and Baltimore, another big one. So you were talking about
it was
power
week
law
8
players
of 2015. The overall QB1, QB2, RB6, RB9, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 9, wide receiver 10, wide receiver 17, and tight end 1. It was like the most insane fantasy blow up game of all. I've like dreamed about going back in time and playing that in the Millie Maker so many times. But yeah, like that's the thing about fantasy, is like that's not really something to bank on or bet on, but that has the possibility of taking hold, especially with like 2 power law offenses, high potent offenses like the Chiefs and the Bengals.
All right, so back to power. So our pick is coming up in 8, but I will just point out, you sent me this thing that you wrote about power law players, but you introduced me to the term of power law players. Do you want to give a quick synopsis of what that means?
Yeah, it's just like a mistake people have long made, is like looking at the median projection when drafting players. The median projection doesn't matter anywhere near as much as a player's bull case projection.
Yep.
And their bear case projection doesn't matter at all. This changes in best ball. Best ball is different, but in redraft, where you have the safety net of the waiver wire to fall back on, it really doesn't matter. Like when I'm drafting after round 5 and I'm drafting a tight end, it's based entirely on his odds of finishing top 3 at the position. It's not so much like, oh, he's going to beat his ADP by 2 rounds. Like that doesn't really move the needle. Right. A mid-range RB2 is worthless. A low-end QB1 is worthless. Why? Because they really don't provide any value over the next best player available on waivers or a bench player. It's like 1.1 fantasy points per game between a QB 10 and a QB 17. So it just like doesn't fucking move the needle. So like, sure. And like the perfect example in that article, which like still blows my mind, is Christian McCaffrey's 2019 season, I believe it was, where you were better off owning Christian McCaffrey and the next best player available on waivers. So like QB 16, sure. RB 32, RB 30, wide receiver 46, whatever, versus a team that had the QB 5, RB 8, RB 9, wide receiver 12, wide receiver 13. And wow. like that's just the potency to any one player that year. Oh, sorry.
I mean, we got Jerome Ford came back to us.
Nice.
He does have the same bye week as Rachaad White. So yeah, we knew we were going to lose Higbee if we waited. So I'm giving in to the same bye week. I don't care as much. We've got 4 running backs. I don't have huge concerns about the same bye week here. We probably want at least one more running back, I would think. At some point in this
click
draft.
Wide receiver for me.
Yep.
Yikes. You want to click running back for me?
Dante Foreman, sort of interesting.
We can take Tajay Spears, another handcuff, or Raheem Mostert. Maybe they don't sign Dalvin Cook. I don't know. I'm not doing too good on this stream, I think. Can you click on tight end? Maybe there's a tight end there.
So we got Mostert there.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're not the first person. I think Jacob actually told me the same thing. He drafts with ADP, just like according to ADP is his format. And I don't know if there is a way to reset it to just do it according to ADP, so that you would have an easier time. I'm using Gajewski's rankings, the stochastic rankings here, so it's obviously very in some places pretty different from what ADP is. So I understand that you're a little bit thrown off by like, well, these aren't the players I'm used to seeing here, and I get that for sure.
All right, can you click on tight end really quick?
Yes, I can. One sec.
Can you scroll down a little bit? Tyler Conklin feels really safe to me. Scroll up. I like Logan Thomas. It looks like you guys are like super high on him. So I kind of like that.
Yep.
But we could wait on him just because his ADP is so much lower. Yeah, I would unclick Tyler Conklin.
Okay. And they've been talking about him like Logan Thomas is going to be their Travis Kelce this year. So maybe Kelce tears his ACL, and then the Chiefs think, well, we need the next best thing, and that's Logan Thomas. They trade for Logan Thomas, and it's just going to be another nice correlation for us.
Well, every year I do my I call it my Exodia plays, it's like a lame Yu-Gi-Oh reference, but it's like the player you can't leave your draft without.
Okay.
And last year my Exodia tight end was Logan Thomas, in part because he was like free in drafts.
Right. Which he is again.
Yeah, but he had the injury and and so hey, who knows? Maybe I was just a year too early.
Might have been. I know that you're going to be leaving soon. You haven't trolled me at all for my appearance. When you look at what I'm wearing right now, Scott, does anything come to mind for you? Any like meme or?
Yeah, what's going on? I'm guessing you went to Oklahoma State.
I did not go to Oklahoma State. This is you know who Mike Gundy is?
Yeah.
Are you the press conference? I'm a man. I'm 40.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm turning 40 tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh wow! Happy birthday.
Thank you. So I dressed up.
I'm turning 33 in 5 days.
Oh, are you really? Okay. So you are also you are a Leo then also.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I have 15 more minutes. So.
Oh, you do? Okay. So we can at least make it through the end of the stream. Awesome. Wasn't sure if you were going to have to be bailing on me any second.
No, I love your outfit. That's great. You didn't go to Oklahoma State?
I did not. I bought this specifically for turning 40, and then I was like, well, why did I didn't plan out what I was going to do. I thought maybe I would reenact the whole thing, and then I just never went and learned what it's like a long clip. It's really good. I watched it several times over the past couple of weeks. I haven't memorized it, but it's not just the I'm a man, I'm 40. There's a lot more to it.
There's some gold
really entertaining. Yeah. You're going to downgrade him for doing everything right. It's just, there's so many lines in there that I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. But I did not take the time to learn the whole thing and reenact it.
Memorize it. Yeah. I meant to ask you about it when we started, but I think we just got sidetracked.
Yeah. No, even if I did go to Oklahoma State, I would not normally dress like this.
Yeah. I don't know. Are you a booster? What's going on?
Yeah. No.
Well, I went to Rutgers, so you're not going to see me wearing their football.
I went to Tufts University, Division III. Okay. So yeah, nice. Similarly.
Yeah. Your team could probably beat ours. I'll say that.
I don't know that they were particularly good, but I don't think I went to a single Tufts University football. I was on the cross country team, so I was typically busy on game day. Right. Do we want to take any more Giants receivers with our turn coming back up?
Oh, fuck that. It's just like,
all right, we need at least one more tight end, I think. All right, I'd like to get one more tight end to go with Waller. I guess you might say that we don't need him.
We can take Logan Thomas. We can take. I mean, I would rather take Justin Ross just because Logan Thomas is going to be there. Your projections love him. Trey McBride is somewhere.
Hold on a second. You're worried that Justin Ross is not going to be there, but you think Logan Thomas is going to. All right.
We can't afford to lose. A guy who's going to finish as the wide receiver 6.
You're right. We got to take Justin
with a round 20 ADP. There's just so much value there. We got to stay on brand at least, is what it is.
I think
can we scroll through?
Okay. I was going to say, I think we take him before the turn for the bit, just so we can say that we took Justin Ross in the
You're right.
16th
You're
round.
right. I mean, no one's going to snipe us on anyone we really care about here.
Yeah.
At least by these rankings.
All right. So now we could consider taking a tight end here or wait until the final round.
Yeah, let's take a tight end.
All right.
Hayden Hurst or Logan Thomas or Tyler Conklin. All that works for me.
Do you have a preference between those three? I've drafted a ton of Hayden Hurst.
I'd probably Tyler Conklin just for the touchdowns.
I like it because I have less of Tyler Conklin than I have of Hayden Hurst, so I like that.
I think Logan Thomas probably has the most upside, but he has like the least odds of being healthy playoffs, right?
Yeah. So that was interesting. So we were talking about floor versus ceiling and how in best ball, the floor arguably matters a little bit more with your late round picks. This is something that I think Sam Sherman wrote up. Just talking about how in best ball, like you really don't want to be throwing away picks. It is still like, I think you were saying like in general for redraft in particular, because you can drop players, like don't worry at all about floor in redraft. All you care about for late round picks is ceiling for redraft, because if a guy's not working out, you're just going to cut him. But you can't do that in best ball. So suddenly floor is like a little bit more impactful, but obviously ceiling's still a lot more important.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that. So like let's scroll down our team and look at wide receivers. Our team.
Yep.
Jamar Chase, Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin, Michael Thomas, Sky Moore, Van Jefferson, MVS, Justin Ross, whoever we took at that last pick, the odds of them ever cracking our starting lineup was low. And if they were someone we needed to rely on, like we were probably fucked. To me, all it is like I said before, Antonio Brown, his first year with the Buccaneers, DJ Chark, his sophomore season, rookie season, Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you get that, you're almost guaranteed to finish first in your 12-team league. Like that's such a potent edge. Sure. But like for just about the 10 other teams, those guys are giving 0 points. Maybe you'll get lucky and you'll get a Jerick McKinnon, someone like that. But like odds are you're taking zeros, and like we don't really need any, like who's cracking those wide receivers. Maybe running back is a different story. Right. So yeah, what do you want to do with this position? Like what position do you want to pick here?
So I think that we're in a really nice spot because we already have 2, 5, 8, 2. And honestly, I don't think we have any position that I'm extremely worried about here. I think quarterback, we're obviously set, I would say. Tight end, I feel okay about. I mean, we have Darren Waller, I think is very solid.
I think Darren Waller's a top 3 fantasy tight end this year. I guess tied with Hawk. But so I'm betting on that prediction being right. And if it doesn't, well, whatever. It is what it is. Like there's no tight end here who's going to save us.
Yep.
So to me, it's running back, because
I was going to say that.
Can we look at our running backs one more time?
Yeah. So our running backs, we have Ramondre, Rashad White, Jerick McKinnon, Jerome Ford.
Raheem Mostert. So we have a scat back who has some spike week upside. And then we have a handcuff in Jerome Ford, who probably isn't going to do much. Maybe Mostert dodges Dalvin Cook, but there's a good chance he's nothing more than like a 7 touch per game guy who can break out a long run. So we could get a guy who can score some guaranteed points. Just going to be hard to find one, or we could just draft another cuff. Could you go all the way to the top and then just like scroll slowly for me?
Yep.
So Leonard Fournette, you could just hope that, week 1, Javonte goes down, something like that, and they're like forced to sign him, even if he is cooked. I definitely think he has the most upside. Michael Carter, you could say, Breece Hall, maybe, or he's off the board. He wasn't a good pick anyway. Chase Brown, you could say, threat to Joe Mixon, or he's at least a cuff. I mean, Josh O'Kelly, what happens if Austin Eckler gets hurt? Right. He's not any good, but like these are just kind of the arguments you need to make. None of these guys are really good. I was just working on my running back rankings. I know I had some cuffs I really liked, but Zamir White.
Yeah, I was just looking for Zamir. He must have gone.
Eric. No, yeah, Saquon just signed.
Yeah, he went.
Was he there?
Now Zamir White went.
Okay.
Hang on. What am I doing? All right, running backs. I mean, if Fournette comes back to us, obviously we have Ramondre, so it's like he could end up being on the same team as our RB1, which would be unfortunate. But the newest report out of New England is that they're going to maybe give Pierre Strong a chance. Like they're going to let their running backs see if they can earn a spot on the roster as the RB2. So who knows? We could go to Chase Brown, hope for a Joe Mixon suspension or injury or something.
Yeah. Or I mean, Travion Williams is there too. Like it might just probably Travion's the better bet.
Oh, really?
I wasn't super high on Chase Brown coming out, but I wasn't really high on Travion either. He's just gotten more buzz from the coaches, although that's typical of like the veteran player. Leonard Fournette's gone.
All right, that's
yeah. So really, it's Joshua Kelly as a cuff.
Do you like Kelly better than Spiller?
No, it's the same thing, really. Probably Travion.
All right, let's. All
right, what was your argument for Pierre? Yeah, maybe he's like James White.
Oh, I wasn't really making an argument for Pierre. I was saying the latest news today, it was more about Fournette, is that the Pats were saying they might give Pierre Strong the opportunity to try to compete for that RB2 spot heading into camp, which who knows. All right, so we could take Travion. I think I have 0 shares.
I actually think I have Chase Brown higher, so we should probably take him.
Chase Brown just went.
Oh, look at that.
So
hold on one second.
We have 12.
Yeah. All right. I guess we'll lock into this pick. Watch, this is like what wins us $2 million. Neil.
Travion Williams. I mean, I think that's my first share. So I have been taking Chase Brown ahead of Travion Williams just because that's where the ADP is. So I was like, well, if something happens to Joe Mixon, it seems like Chase Brown must be the guy. That's again coming back to me not really having strong player takes necessarily and just kind of falling into, well, he seems to be the RB2 here. No idea if that is accurate. Ultimately, I think we drafted a pretty strong team here. So we've got Mahomes with we've got Sky Moore, Jerick McKinnon on that stack, MVS, and Justin Ross. So very, very stacked with Mahomes.
I got something on Jerick McKinnon really quick.
Yeah.
Last year, Chiefs went to the Super Bowl against the Eagles. You get to name 7 captains when you're in the Super Bowl. They named 4 defensive players and 3 offensive players. Do you want to guess who the 3 offensive players were?
I'm going to guess Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Travis Kelce.
Yep.
And Jerick McKinnon.
Right. Yeah.
How did I guess?
Right. So like clearly they have a role and vision for him. Chris like tried to argue against him where he was like, yeah, but he kind of like only does anything towards the end of the season. Like, do you want to keep him for? And I'm like, well, that's perfect for the format.
True. Yeah.
He averaged like, I mean, it was mostly touchdowns, but he averaged insane numbers.
He had a great run.
Yeah. I guess someone at my door. I don't know if you want to give me a second.
Yeah, go ahead. Green checkmark. Before Logan Thomas gets hurt every season, he's a threat to catch, throw, or run one in. Yeah, I mean, if he could just stay healthy for an entire season, I feel like Logan Thomas has the skill to potentially be something in this league. But I don't know if it is likely to happen. Okay, Scott he's still here in StreamYard, so I'm not sure if he's going to join us again at some point. We did not get that Lofty sighting. He had told me that he might, depending on whether he said it was kind of late for him, there's a chance he was going to show up. He has not showed up, so I'm imagining that Lofty is not going to show up to do a second draft here. Probably ending the stream any minute now. Okay, Scott is back. Scott, how do you feel about this draft that we just did?
Yeah, can we see it one more time? Can you walk me through it? Jamar Chase.
Okay, so let's look at just our team. So we got Mahomes with a bunch of pass catchers, including Jerick McKinnon, with Sky Moore, MVS, and Justin Ross. So a lot of potential Chiefs pass catchers here. We got Daniel Jones with just Darren Waller. Our running backs probably our weakest position, but I still feel okay about it. Like I think Ramondre has a pretty solid potential to just be, a top 3 to 5 running back at the end of the year. Rachaad White, lead back in Tampa. McKinnon, as we were just talking about, clearly has some potential. Ford has good handcuff potential.
He could also be the Kareem Hunt. He could have spike week potential.
That is true. Like I forget that Kareem Hunt, like he was so bad last year that I forget how much they were willing to use him when he was not dusty. So yeah, Ford could take on that role. And they probably should like have somebody else taking on a bigger role because Nick Chubb is so good, but also so important, and you don't necessarily want to give him as many carries. Mostert, if Cook does not come, like I don't mind him at pick 170. It seems about right. And then Travion Williams is a late round flyer. Seems like an okay. Like I think that's probably our weakest position is running back, but not
I like
that
the
weak.
quantity there. There's some
Exactly.
outs for us.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. And then wide receiver, I think that we're fairly strong. Like Chase, obviously a great start. Deontay Johnson, Terry McLaurin. I'm glad we went double RB here on this turn. Michael Thomas, as we talked about, clearly has potential. And then if we're betting on this Chiefs offense without Travis Kelce, I think we covered a lot of bases with all of our Chiefs receivers. We got Van Jefferson as the run back on our Giant stack. I think he has some standalone like spike week potential. So I feel like this is a pretty solid draft.
Yeah, I agree. I like the upside inherent to this roster. Neil, when we make it to the championship round, which we will,
Yep.
are you and I going to go to Arrowhead together?
Absolutely, we are. Yeah. We
And
have
then
to.
and then when that game goes for 90 combined points, we're going to be millionaires, and that's going to be pretty great.
And Justin Ross has 4 touchdowns. I think that is an important aspect of, because if it is just Patrick Mahomes to Sky Moore and Jamar Chase,
He's going to hit your
gonna have some
18.5 reception over under just in that game.
Just in that game. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. Yeah, we'll have to. And by the way, I've told everybody.
Should we book the Airbnb right now?
Yeah, I think we can count on this one making the finals. Absolutely. Nice. What, 450 people make the final, 450 teams, something like that. I think this one looks pretty locked in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
I like that idea. I've been telling people on our rule, and Chris said that you have a similar approach. Is I'm not going to ask you to split the money with me. I'm just not going to pay you out unless we win at least $10,000. Does that
for sure?
Does that work for you?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Good. All right. So that's going to be our plan for making money off of this draft, which you and I agree is absolutely going to happen because we got our guy, Justin Ross, the most important thing.
That's right.
Well, Scott, I know that you have another engagement coming up. Thanks a lot for coming on. Where can people find you?
At Scott Barrett DFB on Twitter, also fantasypoints.com. And I had a blast. So just thanks so much for having me, Neil.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Is this thing you're doing going to be live? Like if people want to just head over to what you're doing next, or is it pre-recorded?
Oh, no. It's pre-recorded. Yeah, the Go Pada UFC podcast. We had 15 downloads our last show. So
all right, well, we got to start
somewhere. You want to be 16? Yeah, we'd appreciate that.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, thank you very much, Scott. Really fun to have you on, guys. Reminder: if you use the link in the description, you get your first deposit matched up to $100 and our best ball package. Go check out Scott's stuff. Go find him on Twitter if you are not already following him. Thanks, guys, and good luck this season.